It was on a Reddit thread. I thought it would be interesting, but it ruined my life.
Horrifying stories are emerging across Europe of people dying in their sleep.
Another disturbing case this week as a man reportedly experienced a lucid dream from which he claims he hasn't fully returned.
Neuroscientists are baffled by the spike in lucid dreamers reporting aggressive reactions from their dream characters after uttering the so-called trigger phrase.
Scientists have discovered this one phrase should never be said during a dream.
My dream yoga teacher said it was shadow self-integration, but when I said it, everything went horribly wrong.
It was just a dream. At least I thought it was.
I thought it would be a laugh, and they told me to say it, but I wish I hadn't.
There are two ways this video could end. In one, I tell you the phrase you should never say in your dreams. You'll watch until the end, you might share it with your friends, this channel might get a viral video, and I win. But in the other version, the one we're doing right now, I'll unplug you from the Matrix, you'll start to see clearly, and you'll win. So welcome back to the real world. What on earth was all that? Well, you've probably seen a variation of something like that 1,000 times before. Dramatic music, mysterious claims, eyewitness testimonials, and a secret you'll only hear if you keep watching. So in other words, I used every trick in the book to appeal to your lizard brain and shut down your critical thinking. Fear, drama, mystery, secrets, all those things are like catnip to the primitive brain. And that, well, that's absolutely fine if you're watching something that is fiction, like the film The Matrix. But if you're trying to learn, if you're trying to understand how the world works, if you're trying to be someone who thinks critically and has lucid dreams, then you need to realize when your brain is being hijacked. The real world. So let's be honest, the real world isn't full of dramatic music, cutscenes, and constantly shifting images. In fact, sometimes it can be a little bit boring. And it's because it's boring that our brain really latches on to anything that's dramatic. And when it does so, we lose our ability to think clearly. And let's take the premise of this video. Is there a phrase that you absolutely shouldn't say to the characters in your dreams? Well, when you're thinking clearly, well, no, that's obviously nonsense. Of course, your dream characters are just aspects of your brain. They're just memories and thoughts and predictive processing. There's no magic going on. But when you're primed to feel fearful or tense, or that there's some secret mystery, then you stop thinking clearly and you start thinking emotionally, and then the premise seems a little bit more probable. And it's this simple principle which is the core to lucid dreaming, but also having a lucid life. But we'll get onto that in a moment. The secret. So here's the thing. If someone is feeling a strong emotion, they see social proof, you're offering a simple answer, and there's a bit of mystery and drama involved as well, then they're going to start thinking very simply. You're basically turning off their brain. You get to control them. And pretty much the entire world is trying to use these tactics against you. Advertising, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, politics, religion. Anyone with something to sell you wants you to think less critically. And this has always been a problem for humanity. Think of things like propaganda or cults. But these days it's getting much worse because anyone with a computer can generate in an instant dramatic, impressive testimonials, footage, you name it, using AI. We now have a brain candy machine that can hijack your higher cognitive functions. The Lucid Antidote. So, what on earth does any of this have to do with lucid dreaming? Well, in a lucid dream, you snap out of the emotional, simple thinking of a non lucid dream, and critical thinking becomes engaged. You wake up inside the dream world because you start to think more clearly. But if our world is becoming more fake, more dreamlike, and our brains are slowly being hijacked and our critical thinking being subdued, then the training for lucid dreaming not only will give you lucid dreams, but it will give you a lucid life. But here's the thing. We're all a little bit smug, and we all think these things won't trick us. That's absolutely common. Everyone thinks that. You're not special if you think that you're exactly the same as everyone else. But that smugness is another way that people can control you, that you can be blinded from the truth. Because if you don't think you're at risk, then you don't protect yourself, and then, well, obviously, you're a target. Lucid thinking. So let's get practical for a moment. How can you see through the illusion, both in waking life and in your dreams? Number one, popularity does not equal truth. Just because a lot of people believe something, just because a lot of people are nodding along, does not correlate to how true something is. This is true both in waking life and in your dreams, which is why you never ask a dream character, is this a dream? Because they're just going to tell you nonsense. Number two, if you're feeling strong emotions or someone is trying to make you feel strong emotions, then be cautious. In non-lucid dreams, you're normally blinded from realizing you're dreaming because you're feeling something strongly. But this is also true in waking life. So when you feel strong emotions, when you feel anything welling up, take a step back and try to engage your critical thinking. And remember, feeling something strongly is no correlation for how true that feeling is. Number three, be wary of simplicity. Now, this is one that advertisers like to use, but also politicians, religions, pretty much all of them, frankly. But think of your standard advert. It goes something like this. It implies that your life is a bit rubbish, and here's a life over here which is better than yours. Hold on a moment. Why is it better? Because they have X product. So if you have X product, your life is going to be better. And that's a pretty tame example, but it can get really nasty, such as that group of people are the bad group of people, and we're the good group of people. And it doesn't matter which side you're on, they're both thinking the same thing, but obviously it's not true. The universe and life is full of billions, near infinite variables. You can't boil things down to these simple answers. And for a lucid dream example, if someone's telling you this technique guarantees lucid dreams, well, obviously nonsense. The brain is incredibly complicated. A simple answer for a complex problem is almost always incorrect. Number four, don't let arrogance blind you. There's a weird thing with being human that's universal, which is this. Your current state, where you are right now, is the punctuation at the end of the sentence of your life. And what that means is that everything you believe, everything you think, is the result of the unique life you've led, and that tends to make you think that you're right about those things because you have a limited pool of data. But that's true for everyone. Or in other words, be humble and not too self-confident. Here's a really good way to frame it. Think of yourself 5 years ago. Back then you were pretty convinced by a lot of things, you had your beliefs at the time, and I'm sure some of those have changed and evolved and grown and you've learned since then. Now you're going to be you in 5 years' time, and you're going to look back at this version of you and think the same thing. So be humble. Number five, if you really want something or you really want something to be true, then be extra cautious, because those are the times when you're most likely to blind yourself and ignore those things which contradict what you want to be true. Number six, be alert. Use metacognition. Watch how you think. Think about how you think. Try to question why you make the decisions you make, why other people make the decisions they make. Think about the bigger picture. Think about the variables, the details. Life is incredibly granular. It's very rarely simplistic, so work out how it all works. Number 7, you don't always have to act. If you're feeling something strongly, if you're confused, it's okay to say, I don't know and I'm not ready to make a decision, and to take some time out. And this is the beginning of every reality check. When you first ask yourself, could this be a dream? You have to step out of whatever's going on, you have to push your emotions down, and you have to look objectively until you're ready to make a decision. And here's a decision you could make right now. Hit the like button and leave your comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, you might enjoy one of the videos on the screen right now. I'll see you there.